ज्योति स्टेनो टाइपिंग कॉलेज में आप सभी का स्वागत है बच्चों। ये डिक्टेशन नंबर है 57। डिक्टेशन स्टार्ट आफ्टर 5 सेकेंड। क्या हुआ? नहीं, आप लोग तो 11 बजे से तैयार थे ना। डिक्टेशन स्टार्ट आफ्टर 5 सेकेंड। Mr. Vice Chairman, I find there is hardly enough time for me to say all that I want to say with regard to the report of the Ministry of Agriculture and Irrigation. I will confine myself to making some concrete suggestions with regard to certain things which I have in mind. With regard to fertilizers, we know that the position has considerably eased and the prices have come down, but I would like to suggest that more attention should be paid to the production of complex fertilizers rather than to apply individual straight fertilizers. I say this because apart from the question of maintaining purity and avoiding the adulteration involved, it will also make it easier for application in time. The complex fertilizers can be applied both in commercial as well as general agriculture. More attention should be paid to production of complex fertilizers like Sufala and others. Then the prices of these complex fertilizers should also be considerably brought down so that the farmers and the commercial crop growers will make a use of them rather than resort to straight fertilizers. There are also certain difficulties with regard to the supply of straight fertilizers. When nitrogen is available, potash will not be available. Sometimes it happens because of the paucity of requirement. So only one type of fertilizer, either nitrogenous or phosphatic, should be utilized. It will be conducive to the proper development of the plants. I would commend and urge upon the minister that more attention should be paid to the production of complex fertilizers. With regard to pesticides, we now find that there are a large number of different brands of pesticides starting from various compounds. For a country like ours, where a large number of farmers are illiterate, it is better to standardize all these types of pesticides rather than allowing in the market hundreds of different types and patents of pesticides coming from different companies so that they do not confuse the farmers with regard to their application. With regard to price fixation, I have to say that in spite of so many years of efforts, the Agriculture Price Commission has not been able to have any particular gauging of the cost of production. It has been voiced by so many people in this house and in the other house. Many agriculturists and people who have some practical knowledge of agriculture have been voicing about this. I would like special attention to be paid to this aspect, like the Tariff Commission study. We should have some other study of the different areas and should come to a definite figure with regard to the cost of production. Then only will be able to get over this difficulty of having a discussion about it every year and of voicing about the cost of production. If we have a sliding scale based on the cost of production, it would assure a fair return to the grower. If they do not get fair return, they will not produce more. Madam, the figure given by the Reserve Bank was only 22,000 of industrial closures and sickness. Now each year it is increasing. With each year it increases. This means this is the result of the policy of this government, and still, if we allow this government to remain in power, more and more closures will be there, more and more industrial sickness will be there, and then there will be more and more unemployment. Unemployment not simply due to the growth of population, but even the employed ones are going to be thrown out of employment. There is a very serious crisis in jute industry. There is serious crisis in sugar industry. Who is responsible for these crises? Is there any explanation for this? This is the result of the policy of the government being pursued by Sri Rajiv Gandhi, and which was pursued by previous governments also. I am not simply blaming the Rajiv Gandhi government. The various governments have been responsible for this. Why do I say this? You see the position of rise in prices. Now, it is a figure given to the House by the government. It is not my figure. If we take 1970-71 as the base year with the index as 100, which was also the year when Indira Gandhi won the election on the slogan of Garibi Hatao, what is the rise in wholesale price? Now it has reached a figure of 415. This is the wholesale price index. That means from 1970-71 the wholesale price index has increased more than 4 times. Is this the way for Garibi Hatao? According to the Hindu, the consumer price index was 588 in 1984. The base year for this is 1960, when the index was 100. Now in December 1987, it has reached 752. Though the real price hike is not properly reflected in the consumer price index, that means people are facing more and more serious distress in their daily life due to rise in prices. Who is responsible for this? It is the policy of the Congress government which is responsible. Yesterday, the railway budget was presented. Through it, you have contributed further rise in inflation. Then you have increased the postal and telecommunication charges in addition to the administered prices. Apart from the aspect of parliamentary democracy, to which I will come a little later, is there any alternative policy before this Congress government? Nothing. I am glad that my friend has come back. Yesterday, he moved the motion supporting the President's address, but from what he spoke, he should have voted against his own motion. He has raised a question of grievances of the farmers, the problems of the people, why the farmers are going against the Congress. That is what I am asking my friend to consider. I have full respect for President. I am not talking about him personally. Sir, I was really pained a little when it was sought to made our as if we are trying to tie ourselves too much to one country, and in this connection the name of the USSR was mentioned. I would like to say very categorically that in the matter of increasing our defense potential to meet our requirements, I have no inhibition of any kind whatsoever. I am prepared to get the equipment from any source if it suits our requirements and if the terms are reasonable and if it does not in any way affect our freedom of action. But as a realist, I cannot ask for the moon. Countries who are not interested in supplying the equipment to me, I cannot enter into any running arguments with them, and I cannot say that they must give me the equipment because I do not want to go to one country. This does not cut any ice in this rather hot headed international community. After all, when they supply the equipment, they have to look to their own interests and commitments and also several other factors. But in a matter like this, we should not try to belittle the help that we are getting from any country. I would be quite frank in saying that I am grateful to the countries which have supplied equipment to us. We get equipment from West European countries also in addition to the Soviet Union. So it is a wrong impression that is sought to be made or created due to lack of information. It is matter of historical interest to know that the Soviet Union did help us with certain type of equipment when other countries were not prepared to help us, and if they have helped us, we are grateful to them. But that does not mean that there are any strings attached to it. After we get the equipment, we are the master of it. We are also annexes that we should not depend on any other country because it is not a happy failing in the mind of any defense minister if he has to depend on outside forces. But we are running against time. If there are any pressing requirements that face the country and certain sophisticated type of equipment is essential for the defense of the country, whether it is for the Navy, the Air Force, or the Army, then a decision has to be taken whether we should wait for 5 or 6 years till our production source is developed, or we should fill that gap and acquire it from abroad from whatever source it is available. I think this August House will readily agree with me that when the requirements are pressing, howsoever it is desirable to arm your defense forces with the equipment manufactured in your own country, you cannot keep it without the necessary weapons if the indigenous production is likely to take time. Sir, it was mentioned by some members that we got some consignment of aircraft from the Soviet Union on a rupee account and later on we are paying in gold. I do not know what is the source of information of the members. This is a matter for checking. All the supplies we have got are entirely on the same basis that we make the payment in rupees and that they can make use of our making purchases in this country. That has been the normal pattern of all our purchases, and I do not know why the honorable member made this statement without verifying it from anyone. I cannot really find out the reason, but I want to clarify that all these purchases have been made on well recognized method which has been explained to the house from time to time. We assess its value and we repay, maybe over installments or according to a deferred term of payment. About production generally, judged by any standard, I think that we have done reasonably well, both on the actual quantum of production as also on the economics of production. We have a record which is quite creditable. I would not like to burden this debate with any figures, but perhaps it might be of interest to members to know that in our public sector undertakings of the defense production side, our investment is 65 crores, which is much more than last year. If ancillary is not a public sector undertaking, it will not be reflected in this. The ordnance factories are doing good work. They are showing a great deal of discipline, and whenever there was any occasion, for instance, when there was the Chinese or Pakistani aggression, they were prepared to work overtime and then they produced even beyond our normal yardstick. That is the best praise that can be given. That is the word of praise that can be said. They did their duty to the country, for which all of us are happy and we greatly appreciate their effort. It is true that in certain factories during the course of last year there was some trouble, but we should get accustomed to this type of trouble and we should be able to find a satisfactory solution by mutual negotiation, by discussion, and this is a better way or approach rather than wielding the big stick. Having said all this is general way, I am not sure whether some of the specific points mentioned require any special reply, but I will try to touch upon some of the points that have been mentioned. Honorable members mentioned about the NCC. I would like to say that the present strength is 13 lakhs in senior and junior divisions. Although now the NCC is available for the first 2 years of the degree course and not in the final year, still the number has not fallen very much even after expecting the final year students. इस क्लास में इतना ही बच्चों, नमस्कार बच्चों।